Hello everybody and welcome to this new video of FreeCAD. In this video we are extending the possibilities of drawing through sketches, and we will use it to make a plan for the blind. That is, we are used that for the blind we have drawings of the plans that they can touch because they are a little bit raised, so they can identify which part they are or how to move from one point to another. Doing that in FreeCAD it's quite easy, but the good point and the advances of 3D printing is that we can make maps which are much better than the usual maps we are used to. Let's see how we do it. As usual, we are inside FreeCAD, and remember that you have to select the workbench in which you will be working. For drawing a sketch, we go to Part Design, and inside Part Design, on the tasks, we can create sketch. This sketch, as we want the plan to be raised on the Z direction, we choose that the sketch is on the XY plane. So here we have our drawing plane, and we have seen that new icons have appeared. These icons help us to identify how to move. So let's make something very easy. We don't want this video to be too long, but let's make this easy so that you can practice afterwards with more complex examples. Imagine that you want to make the map of a single room, a house composed by just a hall. We could think that making a square is enough, but remember, objects must be closed objects, so if we raise this we will have a cube, and we don't want a cube, we want to draw the walls of the house. So let's do it using this kind of line. Look, I'm sure that once it's done you will see it. Don't worry too much if lines are horizontal or perpendicular, as you know you can modify them afterwards. So we roughly draw our plan, okay? So this would be the walls of our single room house. Now we have to make these walls so that they are perpendicular or horizontal to have a specific width and so on. First point, let's make all this line to be horizontal. So for that, we select them, and on the constraints, we choose horizontal. You already know this. So let's take all of them, select all of them, those who are not horizontal, and check horizontal. Now let's take the vertical ones. Okay, those ones who were not yet vertical, and we choose vertical. Now we must choose the width of our wall, and for that, people that is used to work with blind people must tell us how width must be the wall in order for them to recognize that. So let's imagine that, for example, is 2 millimeters width. So you already know how to do that. We select both points and we choose 2 millimeters. Let's see where is the distance. Here it is. And we choose 2 millimeters. Okay. Then here the same. 2 millimeters. Okay, and so on with all of them. Remember, this width is up to you. Maybe in the maps we are used to work with blind people, there are 2 millimeters, but if for any reason we want to make it bigger, 3D printing allows us to do as big as we want. Just decide which is better for the purpose you are working. So once we have this, okay, and we can see it here, we can make that this and this point are on the same height. So for that, the distance must be 0 millimeters. So we have already our plant, okay? If we want any other dimension, we could just put it there. Just leave it like this right now. So once we have that, we have to raise it, and we will have the plant of the house. So we close the sketch and we make path. So imagine that you want to raise it 2 or 3 millimeters, which would be enough for our work. So we raise, for example, 3 millimeters, and that's all. So here, now this is a 3D design, okay? This is a 3D design in which we have designed the plan of the house. Now imagine that what you want is to draw a small path arriving to the house, and alongside the path we want to put some trees. Let's see how can we do that. So we create another sketch, and again on the XY plane. So now we want to draw a path on that part. Sorry for that, I have moved. Not here, okay. So we want to make a path arriving to this house. So for that, instead of this, we can choose again the straight line. Okay, so we make our path, here it is, and we make our path. For example, like this. If we want our path not to be made of straight lines, we can modify it quite easily. We select this tool, selecting the points, and as you can see, now our path is rounded on the corners. Okay, so now we have it. Again, remember that you must do it a closed polygon. You cannot just draw a line. So in order to make it close, we have to make the other part. We close here and the same here. And we have also to close this part here. And again, we can make it rounded corners by selecting both sides of the angles. So now that we have our path, we can adjust its shape, changing it or setting the distance as we have done with the rest of the house. Okay, so we have now our path that we want to raise. Again, we close and path, and we have decided that it must be 3 millimeters, for example. It tells me that there is a broken face. That means that some part of the sketch is not close. So let's look for it. Here it is. So if we want to close it, we select both points and let it be together. Let's check if there's another one. This is okay. This is okay. It's very nice to see this kind of errors on the video, because you realize that when you will have them, you know how to fix them. So now we are prepared to pad it 3 millimeters. So we have our house and the path arriving to it. So imagine that now you want to make some trees around the way. So for doing the trees, maybe usually you can put a half sphere. Okay, that would be a very easy way to do it, because you don't have 3D printing. So using the material you have, you need to do it like that. But when you are working with 3D printing, you could use a completely different thing. For example, we could use cones to say that there are trees. So for that, we go to the workbench part and we select the cone, and here we have the cone. We can change the radius. We can put the top of, or let's see how it is doing it that way. So our cone can be like this and like this. Okay, so we have here our cone, and we just need to move it to the place we want. We could make it a little bit higher, something like this. This could make a nice tree. Okay, and we just need to place it now around the path. And for doing so, remember for the first videos that we must change the placement. So changing the placement, we put it wherever we want it to be. This and like this. So we have one, then we can duplicate this cone we select it and duplicate. So we have another one. Again, we can change its position so that we place them all over the place. Again, we can select, clone, duplicate selection, another one, and again change its position. So what we have here is that we have created a map in which trees are represented in a different way that we are used to. And what we need now is to make the whole surface, so the surface in which the map will be printed. And for that, again, if we go to Part Design, we choose to create a sketch, XY plane, and we can select the big square. That is, we want our map to be like that, like this. We close and we pat. As everything has a height of 3 millimeters, we could choose here 1 millimeter, for example. And in doing so, we already have designed our whole plan. Okay, you can see it. So you could print this and already have your work done. So in this video, we have shown a very simple example of how to make a map of a place. Which is the difference between the traditional methods? The main difference is that in this case, for making the trees, we have used a different shape, a shape that when you are using traditional methods, you cannot use. But when you are using 3D printing, you can do it. You could put trees, you could put animals, you could put whatever you want in the shape that you want. Remember, it must be possible to print it. Thank you very much and see you on the next video.